Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Yesterday we have seen the vision according to the relative standpoint. In the relative standpoint, there is no absolute solution for any problem, because the relative standpoint differs from angle to angle. Like this camera, if it is fixed from the lower angle, I will be seen as a tall person. When the same camera is fixed from above, I will be seen like a pygmy. If it is seen from the right eye angle, then it is okay. Therefore, in the relative standpoint, everybody is right and nobody is wrong. Take one or two examples to make this point. You know, one of the Indian Prime Ministers, Rajiv Gandhi, he died because of one lady who hugged him and then blew herself, you know, kind of a sacrifice. Both of them died. Now imagine, for our understanding, both of them come in front of us and we ask them. So Rajiv Gandhi will present his case in such a manner. What was done to him was wrong. Now we ask that lady, why did you do it? She will present her case in such a manner that what she did was right. See, from both standpoints, they are right. In the relative world, the problem is we are unable to understand the standpoint of others. And we want the things to happen exactly the way I want. So Democrats want the things to go according to democracy. Communists want according to the communism. Then the monarchy, they want according to monarchy. Then the terrorists, they want to go the world according to them. And thus, every one of us is fixed with a particular angle. Unless we are ready to change our angle and standpoint, there is no solution to the relative world. See, like yesterday I was reading one news. In India, the virus of divorce has entered, and the maximum divorces are happening among the software engineers. Because what is software? Thinking in terms of possible options. Whether this way or that way, this way, that way, this way, that way. And as a result, they have stopped looking at the human beings. They want to look only at the desktop or the monitor, and thus become very strong from their standpoint. And therefore, the right vision is our ability to understand what the other person is saying and why he is saying. One or two examples I will give you about this. Once I was sitting somewhere and one person came and he said, Swamiji, I have got this question, please help me sort it out. So he asked me the question, I kept quiet. I was talking to others. One or two, three people I talked to, but this person who asked the question, he was keeping quiet, I also kept quiet, I didn't reply. Then there was a third person, onlooker. He said, Swamiji, you have not answered his question, you are talking to other people, he came first actually. You should answer his question first. I said, you ask him whether his question is answered or not. Then he said, yes, Swamiji has answered my question. I said, now what do you have to say? But we have not heard. I said, is it necessary for you to hear what I talk? See, if we are able to understand the standpoint, our vision in the relative world will not be a problem. This is the difference between the average ignorant man living in this world and trying to prove his point, and a saint or a sage or a wise man. This is the basic difference. When in the material world, from the ignorant standpoint of view, when you ask me a question, I will reply the question. But on the spiritual path, you ask a question, the question is not replied, the person is addressed. Because the question is invalid without the person. And this vision the wise people have. Why this particular question has popped up in his or her mind. And therefore, the first step about the grand vision of this world, universe, is this. That we have to take into account the standpoint of others when we are living in this world. The net result will be, we will never misunderstand anybody. Today's world, if we want to see, analyze it, what it is, we are mutually misunderstanding everyone. See, the government misunderstands the citizen misunderstands the government, the teachers misunderstand the student misunderstands the teacher, the parents misunderstand the children misunderstand the parent, and the net result is, there is a chaos, confusion, further confounded. See. Therefore, this first vision of relative existence has to be corrected by us, knowing this, that it is a relative plane, don't take it too seriously. Now the question comes, how to deal with this? What you told theoretically we agreed, that is true. Then the question is, how do we apply? See, when the knowledge is not applied, it becomes burden, erudition and scholarship. See, like I don't know the cigarette packets here. In India, there is a message on the cigarette packet. Cigarette smoking is injurious to health. So when you buy the cigarette packet, you read that. Cigarette smoking is injurious to health. After reading that message, again we say, oh, it is an authentic packet, get me 2 more packets. That means what we read, that knowledge, cigarette smoking is injurious to health, that knowledge is not applied in our life. See? Knowledge, if it is not applied, it becomes a burden. Now, this knowledge, that the relative existence becomes a mess because there is no mutual understanding of the other person's standpoint. So how to get out of this maze? This is the question. And this question is answered in 2nd chapter of Gita in a very simple way. First of all, don't try to get lost into why this is happening. Then why has no meaning. Then, first of all, learn to endure what cannot be cured. See, there is the proverb in English, isn't it? What cannot be cured must be endured. Bhagavad Gita says, don't endure. Then, what cannot be cured should not be endured merely, but should be enjoyed. Conversion of endurance into enjoyment is the spiritual life. See. Now how this can be done? See, I happened to meet one girl on New York airport. I was sitting on some seat, and that girl came with a wheelchair, Indian girl, Gujarati. She came with a wheelchair. So out of, courtesy, said, hello, how are you? You are alone, somebody is with you, something like. He also came and did namaskar, this is how it started. Then I said, you are moving alone, there is nobody with you? He said, no, I always move like this, I am always like this. I said, why, right from childhood? No. Then she told me her story. I was in class 12th. One morning when I got up from the bed, I could not stand. My legs below the waist were paralyzed. We don't know why. And I started crying, shouting, "Mom, please come help me. I can't get up," like that. For 2-3 days, I was completely shattered. The whole life in front of me with the legs paralyzed. See? Then she said, after 2-3 days, I thought, now, am I going to lead a life of mercy, sympathy from the world? No. He said, then I as if tightened my belt and completed my schooling. Then I went to UK to my auntie, and there I studied my graduation, post-graduation. Then I did my MBA in accounts, and she went to US. He said, now I am heading one department in one banking firm. And I moved the whole world around with the wheelchair. I got everything standardized. See? Otherwise, why it should happen to me only? What wrong I have done to others? I have not done any sin. Why? Don't get lost into why. Sort out the problem by attacking the problem. Then this relative world will not become miserable. See, this is one event. Second events are in relations, There are relations among people. Now one person understands, other misunderstands. Instead of getting lost why this is happening, try to sort it out clearly. Open it up and clear it out. See? So, if this is the way we have to go through, what should be the inner strength? The inner strength, Bhagavad Gita tells, Matra sparashastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agama apayina anityan tam titikshasva bharata. Any experience that you take in life, any experience, which is gathered through the sense organs and the mind coming in contact with the world. This is an experience. Like I see Robin, no? So I see Robin through my eyes. So contact is established. Suppose I like her very much. So what? I can't be together throughout my life. So understand, as long as you are there, be happy. See? Second example. For example, I see this girl sitting there. Just example. Say, I don't like her. No. Should I destroy my eyes or kill her? No. As you are definitely to go after some time, she will also go definitely after some time. So what could be done? Endure. So every experience of our life is temporary. Whether it is a good experience or a bad experience. So when the experience is temporary, why should we be permanently miserable because of a temporary experience? See? Like you are all sitting here. The lecture began, it is definitely going to end. So if you are enjoying, be prepared that it will end. If you are suffering, accept, it will definitely end. In both the cases, the only solution is endure. Titikshasva bharata. See? Now if you are, as most of you are on the spiritual path, there are many people who do a lot of austerities. Standing on one leg. In the winter, they won't put on warm clothes. In the summer, they will be having fire around them. They won't take food for 20-21 days. This is invited trouble, is it not? You have got good food, eat and enjoy. No, I am observing austerities. I don't take food for 21 days. So instead of inviting the problems in life, Whatever problems come in our life without invitation, accept them cheerfully and happily. See? Our most of the relative problems will dissolve. See, friends. Therefore, two principles we have seen. One principle in the relative world, what is important is we must have understanding, not the other person. If we have understanding, what should be the understanding? Everybody is right from his standpoint. When the children are making noise, from their standpoint it is right. This is the time to play, man. Stop your lecture. And from our standpoint, we are right. This is the time for lecture. We don't get this opportunity every day. Play you are doing every day. So both of us are right. So if we are elder, we should have understanding, or the children should have understanding. The elder should have understanding, isn't it? But if elders do not have understanding and they imagine that we are walking the spiritual path, what is the spiritual path wherein we refuse to understand other people? See. Therefore, standpoint is correct from his own angle. Everybody is right in this world, nobody is wrong. Only we are not able to understand him. Then the second point we saw, how do we deal with this? Only one philosophy. Any experience, let it be good or bad, it will begin and end. It will not be permanently there. So the only thing is endure. Now we go one step further. When this becomes our lifestyle, our mind remains at peace. Because we are not reacting. A person who is giving value to his clean clothes, he will not go and sit anywhere. Before sitting somewhere, he will think twice whether it's clean or not, or you do like this thing and you get lot of vibhuti to put on. Then he will not sit over there. Because you care about the clean clothes. In the same manner, those who care about the peace of mind, they will not invite any problem in their mind which will create disturbances. Because the most valuable thing in life is our peace of mind. See, friends, but we have not understood the value of peaceful mind. We are seeking peace misplaced by running after the worldly objects. Because the peace that we know is a negative understanding. Absence of disturbance is peace for us. See? Like one day I was talking in one of the classes about relaxation, like today we had. So after the lecture was over, one girl said, Swamiji, I couldn't understand this principle of relaxation. Can you give me some example, something? I said, okay. I said, come sit. I said. Then I held her hand and I started pressing her. I said, what are you experiencing? Oh, you are crushing my hand. I said, very good. Now keep this experience in your mind. Yes. Now I'm slowly releasing it. Now the pressure has gone. Ah, yes. How will you explain this experience? Tell me. This can't be explained. You have to have that. I said, now you do yourself. Tighten your fist and do like this. Tighten all the muscles. Like in the bodybuilders, they do like this thing. Do like that. And see how the muscles and everything is tight. Now, relax. And see what is the meaning of relaxation. Exactly the same way. Our mind is always either in one extreme of tensions or other extreme of drowsiness. Two extremes. You know, these musicians, they play on the sitar or some kind of instrument, and if the string does not have optimum tension, if the string is so tight that the sitarist just touches the string or the wire and it breaks, no music can come out of it. The other extreme, it is so loose that when you try to pull it, the whole thing comes in your hand, hold it. No music can come out. So we require optimum tension on the wires, is it not? But the one who is playing on that music instrument, he should have no tension. Then the right music will come, is it not? Once, you know, this happened in South Africa, like this tabla I saw, I remembered. There was one doctor by profession, and in that place there are not many people who play these various instruments. So he was the only one who knew little bit of hitting the tabla. So I was sitting in the audience and some people were singing, and he came, okay, I came, now I'll play tabla. And he was so excited. See, that tabla should have proper tension, that, you know, skin should have proper tension, not the one who is playing, he should be relaxed. But he was so excited and he started hitting that big one so badly that it made a hole and his hand went inside. That is not the way. Exactly the same way. We have to live in this world with optimum tension on our mind. And what is that optimum tension? Three things. Number one, the mind is alert. Number two, the mind is vigilant. Number three, the mind is quiet. Quiet mind with vigilance will be always observing. Is the mind becoming dull? Is the mind running away from the goal? Is the mind not cooperating? Vigilance. And alert, whatever is happening is comprehended in one go. These three things. With these three qualities of a mind, life is lived most beautifully. Therefore, as we take care of our clothes, we take care of our house, we take care of our figure, we take care of our food intake, calories, etc. We have to take care of our mind. And what is the care? This only. Function in the world, but give importance not to the world, not to I, but to the quality of the mind left before, during and after interaction with the world. See? Like, you know, here I see, this is one of the best things I like among you all people. When we are cooking the things in the kitchen, everything, when you begin your kitchen, kitchen is clean. So you take out the utensils, start cutting this thing, that thing, whole mess is there. And after everything is over, again the kitchen is clean, spick and span, as if nothing has happened. See? But if you go in India, they will wait for the maid servant to come. And till then, the whole kitchen will be piled with lots of utensils. And you can't, because they don't want to do it. Somebody should do it. In the same manner, we want somebody to come and check our mind. We are not ready to do our mind. So before we take up any job or any interaction with the world, see the mindometer reading. Like you have thermometer reading, the mindometer. it should be set at 0. Neither depression nor excitement. Optimum. And with that optimum mind, interact with the world. That interaction will be an expression of understanding, not an expression of misunderstanding. And when the job is done, mind is at peace. Such a mind is able to function in the relative world without creating dents and dashes on itself. See? Like, we were seeing yesterday our Wendy's car, she has crashed somewhere or somebody has crashed her car. So when we look at it, oh, it's scratched, I had to get it done, doesn't look good. Car scratching doesn't look good, but mind scratching, do we ever care? See, cars you can change, mind you can't change. There is no replacement of mind, exchange offer. You take my mind, give your mind. See, friends, therefore, this is the first vision in the relative world. Now, when we start leading life in this manner, mind is at peace, and a peaceful, alert, vigilant mind discovers the shawl is covering my feet. The feet are there. And when the shawl is removed, means discovered, then the feet are seen. In the same manner, quiet, vigilant, alert mind is a discovery of our inner beauty. We are essentially beautiful within. There is no ugliness. Because discovered with the mind, which was disturbed, frustrated, angry, and therefore, what is not, that is seen. We have trained ourselves to see in this world what we have decided to see. We don't see what is. See? Do you know that person? I don't know, but maybe he is a cheat. Now, why he is a cheat? See, there is no reason. But we have trained ourselves not to see what is, but to see what we have decided to see. And therefore the mind becomes biased. So when the mind is quite alert, vigilant, our vision will change. Now with this change in vision, what exactly happens is only one thing. That is, we seek something higher in life. The average person, what is he seeking? He is seeking either wealth or desire fulfillment. Not beyond that. See? I should have houses, I should have cars, I should have wives, I should have children. So many things. And then more the possessions, more successful we are. More the relations, more popular we are. And then we define the success of life is more of everything, including the more disturbed mind. See, friends, then our life is only dog words, How the life becomes dog words? Be attentive. We all have one common thing, and it is inherent in every one of us. And that common thing is, we love ourselves the most. Love is there. Now when this love starts going downwards, only to the material world, so our love is going dogwards, lower world, And then we carry two burdens on our life. One is the burden of possessions, and second is the burden of relations. Two things. And whenever you carry any burden, you cannot be at peace, you cannot be comfortable. See? So, when the love for the worldly objects and worldly indulgence becomes intense, our life is downwards. But when the same love is for something higher in life, then the vision changes. See, friends, what is our present understanding? Unless there is desire as a force for us to act in this world, how can the progress be possible? Is it not? If there is no desire, why will anybody work? So desire is an essential driving force according to our understanding. Is it not? One young man asked me this question. You people say you should not carry the burden of desire, but without desires, nobody will work in this world. I said, really? Very good. Now let us analyze. We all lived our life to fulfill our desires. And we know what we have got in our life. No experiment is required to be conducted. We have already done it. Now only take the data. And see the lives of the great masters who have not lived a single moment for their personal desire fulfillment. And see the amount of output that they have attained in life. The real achievement is not by the force of desires, but the real achievement in life is by the strength of inspiration. Are we functioning under the burden of desires, or we are functioning under the umbrella of inspiration? See the difference. And this can be understood only if we can wean away from the lower life for something higher in life. See, this is what exactly the first chapter of Gita tells us. Arjuna's argumental logic was this: how can I kill my deers and mine ears? That means killing is not a problem. Problem is mine ears and my deers. So when we lead our life for selfishness, it is a dog world life. When we lead our life for something higher in life, see, whenever this goal changes from the dog word to the God word, then a great person is in the making. See, Mahatma Gandhi's earlier name was Mr. M.K. Gandhi. You know, in South Africa, when apartheid was there, that time he was thrown out of the train. And that place, Pietermaritzburg, I have gone to that place. There is a copper plate fixed there on the station. It was here Mr. M.K. Gandhi on such and such date. He was thrown out of the train, all that, you know. So, my insult and taking it as a cause, out of an ordinary M.K. Gandhi, a great master is born. He was not living for his selfishness, for something higher. And something higher is totality. See, friends. Therefore, when this love in our heart is invoked for something higher, then alone we are now migrating from relative vision to the second vision, wherein I is the servant and the world is the master. I is the effect and the world is the cause. Will the painting fight with the painter? Will the wave have enmity with the ocean? Will the wave be ever jealous of ocean? See, in the relative world, one wave is jealous of other waves. You are going ahead. I know you must have done something, given money to somebody. Therefore, you are going ahead. And I am pushed behind because I am simple. I am innocent. In this world, good people are always crying. Oh. It's all relative world. Once it happened in India, after my satsang like this, there was one lady, quite a big structure, sitting. So she was introduced. Swamiji, she is the daughter of governor so and so. Very big political person, his daughter. And she was also elderly, must be about 60 or 55. Then she said, Swamiji, I have got a question. I said, please ask, because she was already introduced. He is a big person's big daughter. Her question was, Swamiji, why in this world bad people enjoy life and good people suffer? This was the question. So I asked, forget about the world. Mama, please tell me about you. Are you suffering? No, Swamiji, everything is okay with me. I said, do you get the answer? Your question was, bad people enjoy and good people suffer. How is your life? Oh, my life is okay. Therefore, who are you? You are a bad person. No, I don't mean that. I said, look here, those who are good people, they never suffer in life. They go through suffering without becoming a sufferer. No great man has ever condemned this world. See, friends, because they are no more comparing with anybody. See? Like the wave will not compare herself with the ocean. Ishavasya Upanishad says, Ishavasya sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. When we come to know this whole world is the manifestation of my beloved Lord, will I fight with them? See? Like, I am not very fond of dogs and cats. So, once I went to USA and there was one Tamilian lady. She has been asking every year, Swamiji, please come and stay with me. So, those local people organized, okay, this time Swamiji will stay with you. And in her house, she was single, all children married and gone. Very beautiful big house, nice swimming pool, extremely good house. And there were 7 dogs and 11 cats. All around. Anywhere you go, you get the doggy fragrance and on every bed or the sofa set, the hair everywhere, doggy hair. I said, oh God, where I have come. And then I went just to take some drink from the fridge. So on the fridge there was a big poster. This house is meant for catering the needs of my dogs and cats. If you find uncomfortable, you can leave. Where will I go? So I was staying there. And I took my drink, some juice, and I sat there. The moment I sat there, then one cat came and sat, and then one dog came and started sniffing my drink. I said, is it a procedure here? The first he takes and then I take. So that lady said, Swamiji, do you like cats and dogs? Of course, they are the divine. See? Because I respected that lady, everything of hers is respected, is it not? In the same manner, if we really love God, we cannot hate His creation. Hatred cannot fall in the purview of spiritual evolution. One of the most important spiritual practice. You all must have heard the name of Shirdi Sai Baba. Satya Sai Baba, etc. Satya Sai Baba, many of us have seen, had darshan. Shirdi Sai Baba we had not seen, at least I had not seen, because he left the body many years before, in 1915 or so. That time even my parents must not have been born, God knows. So, when I go to his temple shrine, we go and do namaskar and go out. So when I go there, because many people know me, I get quick access. I don't have to stand in a big queue. So there are always 3-4 people they also get. So we go do namaskar and go out. So one lady asked me this question, Swamiji, you get such a great opportunity, you can stand there for longer time and you can look at the shrine and you can do namaskar, but you simply do like this thing, do namaskar to the paduka, put your head and go away. Why so fast? I said, so many people are already waiting there, we should not take more time. No, we take long. We want to be there for more and more, unless that man pushes us, we don't want to go. I said, very good, continue. But what is the reason? I said, reason is, longer the namaskar, longer is the list of demands. Oh Lord, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And therefore long namaskar. What about you? I said, I don't ask anything. Only one thing I ask, that's it. What did you ask? I said, why should I tell you? No, please tell us. I said, okay, listen. I have asked only one thing from him, and he granted me that. That much I can tell. What is that? Oh Lord, let there be no hatred in my mind, even in a dream, even for fun, even once for anybody in this world. See? The mind which carries even an iota of hatred is not a fit mind for him to descend. See, then only we can love the whole world. Otherwise, immediately misunderstanding comes. See? Once it happened in Calcutta, one person invited me for lunch. And those days, I had to eat in a hotel. No arrangements were there. So when somebody invited, I was so happy. Come on, at least now I'll get a good food. So I have prepared myself, meaning that last night I did not take food, I did not take the breakfast. And those days, being young, I was very hungry and eating a lot. And this man came and we sat together and talking everything else. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, Swamiji, I had to go, I got some urgent work. And he left and I had no food. I said, my God, this fellow has straight away gone without calling me for food. I don't know what I should do. Again, I went to the hotel and ate something and fun. Then, after a few days, he again called me. Swamiji, you have to come to my house for food. Then I was thinking, what should I do? Tell him, last time you called me, you did not trick me. Do you think I'm a beggar? I'm not going to come to you. One way of interaction. Second way of interaction is, now the Lord is taking my examination. He called you and made you suffer. Again He is calling you. Now you decide whether you want to appear for the examination or give it a walkover. Please remember, friends, this region, every experience of our life is a spiritual examination. This is the vision. Every experience, good or bad, honor or dishonor, joy or sorrows, achievement or failure, condemnation or appreciation. Every experience is a spiritual examination. See? One day I was talking to the students in a school, and then I asked him, I said, hey, tell me, suppose you want to be first in the national level examination, what should be done? One by one. So they started telling, we should study hard, we should know all the answers, we should be able to write the answers in the right manner, properly, within the time, everything was told. I said, all your questions are wrong, answers are wrong. How come? Your teachers know all the answers correctly because they are the one who evaluate. So as regards subject and knowledge is concerned, your teachers are the best. But will they stand first in the national level? No. Why? Because they are not qualified to appear for the examination. So who can be first? The first requirement is he must appear for the examination. In the same manner, spiritual life is an examination. Every experience, let it be good or bad. See? Now when this vision changes, then our quality will be like a relation between the wave and the ocean. See friends, this relationship between the wave and the ocean is that of the relationship between the effect and the cause. The effect cannot fight with the cause. The effect cannot live without the cause. And in the cause, there is no effect. See? The ocean can become a wave. Wave cannot become an ocean. Wave will dissolve in the ocean. So the second vision is dissolving our I. See? Because the problem in the relative world is the I problem. See? iPod, iPad. In one family, the son said, I got the iPod Touch. The wife said, I got iPad. The son said, I got iPhone. The father said, I paid for everyone. I. This I is the big problem. Unless this I is dissolved, we are not walking the spiritual path in the right direction. So in the relative world, I is the hero. In the next generation of vision, relationship between the effect and the cause is the hero, not the effect. Now when we apply this principle in our life, can anybody think of fighting with the cause, the parents? Cannot. Unless I is involved. See, recently it happened in India, one politician doing all kinds of things. He was having his properties more than 3,000 crores of rupees. And he had some mistress. So his son thought that he is going to give everything to her, not to him or to his mother. So he just wiped him out. Now the case is going on. Because their relationship was I versus you. So in the relative world, there cannot be creativity. There can be only destruction. In the second level of relationship between the effect and the cause, the effect will naturally surrender to the cause. In the same manner, if we live in this world with the second level of understanding, the I factor, like you got a max factor, no? So the I factor has to be slowly dissolved. When this I factor is dissolved, then we come to the next level, the relationship between the ocean and the waves. Now what was our understanding? relationship between the wave and the ocean, the effect and the cause. The ultimate vision will be after crossing this relationship between the ocean and the wave, and ultimately we reach to the final vision. And that final vision is the one which is the ultimate vision for all of us to discover and live in that joy of pure existence. It is possible for every one of us, and that is the only way we should think of living our life. Rest of the things, they will keep on happening as they are due to happen. Therefore, vision of this grand universe, where from the universe begins. See? The whole world is existing only in this eye. But this eye we have not recognized. Who is this eye? One old man, businessman in Bombay asked me this question. He says, Swamiji, last 3-4 months I am having a fear in my mind. Suddenly fear has cropped up. So I was keeping quiet. The fear about death, and I should stop here. Let us find out one by one. Fear about death. Okay. I guarantee you, you will die. Next. No, not that way. My fear is not only of death, but what will happen to my wife, my children, my property, my business after I die. What will happen? So I ask him, why don't you go and ask those people? Then they will reply you. They will say, old man, we are waiting for you to die, better go quickly so that we can amass the total wealth. If I is not there, my wife has no existence. If I is not there, my property has no existence. Like in the deep sleep, there is no I. Therefore, we are not husband. Why? Because there is no wife. Unless I is there, my cannot exist. So whole world is existing where? It is only in this I. See, friends, when you become more and more subjective, this becomes obvious. See, this principle I learnt in one of my very good experiences. You know, all the colors and forms in the world, they exist in our vision. Those people who are blind, they have no problem about colors and forms. This I learned. 2 examples I'll give you. Once I went to some village side in India, and my friend, when he took me to his house, so his mother, she said, my dear son, has our Swamiji come on the TV? This is not the time that he comes on the TV. Then he said, no mama, Swamiji himself has come in our house. Really? I am so lucky, please get him here. So she was sitting on a simple cot in a small hut. And when I said, she said, please come and sit. So I sat in front. I could see that she cannot see. Because her eyes were open, but she was telling me, sit down here, like this. So I went and sat near her feet. And then she started putting her hands on my face. Oh, you have got glasses also. They are thick or thin? Oh, you have got a beard also. Is it very long, short? What color it is? So, she had no vision. So, colors and forms do not exist for her. The second example. In one industry, I was taken by my friend, and that is the rarest of all the industries in the world I have seen. Rarest. Except on the front desk, every label was physically challenged. Every label. Somebody is deaf, somebody is blind, somebody is having polio, somebody is, what do you call? Autic. Autic, no? Autism, like that. And somebody is paralyzed. Everybody is a challenged personality, except the person on the front desk. He has to deal with the people. And he took me in one big hall where there were about a dozen machines. And it was making such a terrible noise that you can't stand there for 2 minutes. He held me there. He didn't allow me to go. I said, okay, Hassan, let's go out. He said, no, wait, I want to show you something. And he kept me there physically holding, not allowing me to go. Finally, I pushed him. I said, hey, man, you want to kill me or what? I can't stand here. I came out. He said, I wanted you to suffer a little bit, therefore I took you there. Why? Then he said, my laborers are working 8 hours a day. I said, I don't know how they are working. He said, all of them are deaf. They have no problem of sound. That day it became confirmed where the whole world of 5 elements is existing. See, sounds are existing in the ear. Colors and forms are existing in the vision. See, friends. Now the question comes, where the sense organs are existing? They are existing in the mind. If the mind is not behind the sense organs, you may be sitting, hearing may be happening, but you are not listening. Because mind is not there. Either the mind has gone to sleep, or the mind has gone for a walk here and there. So where are all the sense organs existing? They are existing in the mind. So the world exists in the sense organs exist in the mind. And what is the mind? Naiva manasam. Mind is not. Mind is merely the manifestation of consciousness in the body. So where is the whole world existing? Only in pure consciousness. See, if ornaments are made out of gold, can it be anything other than the gold? In the same manner, if this world is a manifestation of the conscious divine reality, can it be anything else other than that? When this line of thinking is inaugurated, our approach to life will change. Changing our approach to life is called as spiritual practice. It is not a mere mechanical existence. And this is what we are told, that first we are to separate ourselves from the body, because the lips are not talking, there is somebody behind the lips who is talking. Your eardrums are not hearing, there is somebody behind the ear they are talking. He is listening. So the embodied is different from the body. Unless this is accepted and worked out, we are far away from the ultimate vision. And for this purpose, we have the satsang study of scripture, so that one day by God's grace it may just click. It's not difficult. It's a question of click. Like some children are able to ride the bicycle in one go. They just sit as if fish to the water, natural to them. And some people, they may try a dozen times but they fall down. They just can't hold it. And you can't teach anybody how to balance. You have to learn yourself. And once you learn this balancing, in your whole life you never forget. Exactly the same way. It's just a knack. One day it clicks. Everything is done. See? Can we tell that at this particular moment I learned bicycle riding? We don't know. We keep on learning. One day you also don't know when you learned it and how you learned it. In the same manner, it is a question of mere practice. Practice reminding ourselves. It is not a physical practice. Reminding ourselves whether we are the body or the embodied, and if we are embodied, then who am I? This will be leading to the change in the vision. When the vision changes, everything changes in life. Let us try to see that our vision is no more the old vision which has got a myopia. You know, the vision with myopia gives us what is not, and our perfect understanding is corrupted. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.